Okay, so if you've already opened Vasari, you'll see the familiar screen. The first thing we always need to do is make sure you're signed in, so you should have your username show up here in the upper right hand corner. If it's not there, please sign in. The next thing we should do, because in a default new file, and actually you guys should be opening your existing files, but for now, for the purpose of this class, why don't we all start fresh, so we're all making the same geometry together. Go to Analyze so we can set the location, and then go to Location, the Location tab. Next thing we need to do is we need to get the latitude and longitude of our project. So if you go to our website, and in today's class notes, well, actually, let's say so in class 2, just copy the latitude and longitude. If you don't have access to the internet, just type 34.02, comma, -116.1. Okay, or just 34, comma, -116. Then hit search. This is review, so I'm going quickly. It brings you to an image of our site. You know, we know our site's over here. So either one of these weather stations would work. I think we chose this one last time because it seemed like it was kind of in flatter area, right? So let's choose this one, 9749 weather station. Okay, make sure you select that and highlight it so it's showing like blue highlighted. Again, you should all be using the same weather station, 9749. If for some reason it gives you problems, you're finding difficulty with it, then I'd be okay with switching to 9968, okay? The next thing I want you to do, just so you kind of know where you're drawing and whatnot, is import the site image. So click on Import Site Image on the lower right-hand corner. It always gives us this view of the street. Just use your middle mouse button to scroll out until you see that familiar crook of our site, okay, right here. Then use your middle mouse button to zoom in so you can see the parking lot. And you know, you probably know where your building fits on the site, so just bring in an image that at least includes this, you know, the context of your building, and then hit import. Make sure it's on level 1, and let's just leave the rest the same. So that'll bring an image in here, and if you remember what Scott mentioned from Autodesk, is there is no opportunity for Project North, okay? So you have to just draw in the, you know, north up. So you have to rotate your mass. What we're going to do today is we're just going to stay with really simple geometry, just like a box, and we're going to just try a few different variations on it and see how it affects the energy use, okay? And then you should try this with your projects, and you will run into some difficulty because with anything, you know, this should, like, you know, Scott mentioned, it's like a 3D class on Vasari, 8 hours. So this is a very short course, so you will run into some difficulties. What I would suggest you do to reduce the difficulties is to just keep your models extremely simple. Okay, so like a very schematic representation of your project. So let's just start by making a mass. So go to Model, Create Mass. This puts us in the mass editing mode. We know that because we see the green check and the red X. And let's just make a rectangle. Let's make it all the same size, and let's just draw it kind of like, you know, north-south orientation. So let's make it a 2-to-1 ratio rectangle. So I'm just going to drag the rectangle first. Okay, so I grab the rectangle tool and I put the rectangle down. Now I'm going to pick up one side and I'm going to make this, let's say, 60 feet. And I'm going to grab the other side and I'm going to make it 30 feet. So I have a 30 by 60 rectangle. Okay. Now, one thing that he showed last week, which is very useful, is that I'm in perspective mode right now because I'm in 3D view Vasari 3D, which can actually get to be a little bit distracting sometimes. So if you want to switch to Axon view, you just switch to this one, 3D view 3D. And then once I have this surface drawn on the ground, I need to extrude it, okay? So your buildings are probably like, you know, 1 or 2 stories, so just extrude it up to, it snaps to level 2, okay? And if you want, you can lock it into that. You know, this is about Revit and all that, being able to make things parametric, but for now it's not that important. Just make it up to level 2. And then let's just hit Finish Mass. And let's actually take our raster image and hide it. So I'm going to hide in, right click on the image, hide in view elements. And so now I just have my rectangular prism. Next is we're going to take our mass and we're going to mask the floors because Revit does not, Vasari will not do any energy simulation unless you have floors. So mask the floors and then you just click level 1, level 2. Okay, so now it's just going to place some floors in there for us. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to under the Analyze tab, we're going to go to Enable Energy Model. Okay, so that's this button right here, or you can type EM, so click on that. Okay, so once you do that, you notice that it automatically moved us from this Show Mass Form to Show Mass Surfaces. There's a few different ways you can look at your model, and it's very easy to get lost if you don't kind of pay attention to what this is set at. Okay, so right now it's under Show Mass Surfaces. Yeah? Okay, basically what happens is it applies a very generic set of energy settings to your model, so that's what we're going to look at now. So click on the button called Energy Settings, or type ES, and Vasari is like really basic in terms of an energy model, or it's very simplistic, which is good, you know, for this very like kind of schematic design type of energy simulation. So the first thing you want to do is you want to set the building type to whatever your building is. And what I would suggest, if you have multiple buildings, for example, in terms of what I'd like you to look at, you know, this doesn't need to be like a thesis project. So you could just pick one building type, like just pick the dormitory or just pick the, you know, the rock climbing center, because I want you to focus on one of these settings. I don't want it to become too complicated for you. So for the most part, I would say this is an exercise center, right? Okay, so what that means is that Vasari will make assumptions like, okay, the thermostat's going to be set at what temperature? Probably a little bit lower because people like it cooler when they're exercising. It's probably going to be set from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. or something like that. If it was set as something differently, like for example you guys also have like a dormitory, then it would be different. It would be 24 hours a day the energy is being used to heat and cool the building, right? Does that make sense? Okay, so you need to choose this setting correctly. It makes all the difference. So why don't we all choose Exercise Center, and let's focus on the Exercise Center part of your project. The next thing, that you can leave most of the stuff the same. What you should change, one thing you should definitely change is change the perimeter offset to 0, because we don't have a core in this building. And then let's not change conceptual constructions for now. We will come back to that either today or in a separate day. Just leave that as it is. The one thing you could play around with is the glazing. Let's actually put this up at 80% or something. You know, it's a little bit crazy, but if you look at a lot of the designs, that may be where you're at right now, something really high. And then the target sill height, that's up to you. You can put that as whatever. I'm going to put it at 1 foot right now. And I'm not going to check the shading right now because I'm just starting with kind of like a worst case scenario of an 80% glazed building. Okay? And so I'm not turning on shading, and I'm going to just leave no skylights for now. And I'm not going to touch anything under this building surfaces. Okay? So then hit OK. And you notice the model updated. It's now 80% glazing, and so it looks like an all-glass building. It looks like it's going to fry in the desert. But let's find out what happens. Okay? So the next step is we go to Analyze Mass Model. So click Analyze Mass Model. So sorry, I'm going to cancel that command, and I'm going to save the project first because it just makes the file naming a lot easier if your file has a name. So let's call this, I'm going to call it 203 Demo. Okay, so we'll try again to analyze the mass model. Okay, I'm going to give it a name, 203 Demo Analysis 1, and then I'm going to just add a few words on the end, just call it base case. This is our base case. This is where we're starting. And then I'm going to let it run the analysis, and depending, you know, on various amounts of factors, it may take a long time or a short time. And a little note will pop up here and say your results are ready for viewing. You can also click on this button that says results and compare, or you can type the shortcut RC, and that will also bring up the dialog box which has the results. So I have a few things here. I'm just going to close them, and I'm looking at this one, 203 analysis. It's at 35%. It's processing right now. So mine's at 35%. So let's go in and make some changes. Before, okay, so grab your energy settings. Let's just change this real quick to 60%. Okay, so again, before you do anything, click on your model and hit energy settings. Actually, I don't even think you don't even need to click your model. This is like a global setting for the entire file. So just change it to 60%, okay? And hit apply and hit OK. This is something you can do for my assignment, like this simple of a study, just varying the window wall area. Okay, it may not be as meaningful as some other studies, but this is one possibility. So now I have 60%. I'm going to say Analyze Mass Model. And then this time I'm going to say, call this number 2, and then I'm going to say 60 window wall area. Okay?